The process of doing something you actually like is my great addiction. The fact that I am able to actually wake up day in and day out, sleep easily for 7-8 hours a night, and wake up genuinely excited while always being prepared to grab my phone and know that I have a problem in my 300-person Singapore office, or something happened in LA, or one of the other 17 businesses that I'm associated with are in trouble. I sit on top of almost 3,000 employees and 2 very large businesses actively as the CEO, and then on the board of 4 others, and heavily invested in others, and many other things I'm involved with. I have plenty going on, but the fact that I do what I want to do enables all of it to work. This is grounded in something that is the absolute answer for this entire arena. The one thing I can absolutely speak on that fundamentally touches every person here is the relationship between self-esteem and insecurity. All of the things that you do are based on this. If you look at what's really been going on with people for a very long time, why, when one is sold fear, that they believe it, versus when they're sold fear that they don't? Why so few people have a framework of believing in optimism versus protecting themselves with cynicism? Why people lack patience? I can tell you right now that for the majority of people in this room that want something to happen, the biggest flaw in their mental framework and perspective is their lack of patience. It is why I make so much content around people that are 22, 25, 35, 40, and laughing and joking and trying to some way, somehow communicate to them that they are extremely young.
Need motivation?
Watch a top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Carmichael, and I make these videos because in my first business, I quit on my business partner. I was making $300 a month, and I didn't have the motivation to keep going. And the thing that got me through was studying the stories of entrepreneurs who've had massive success. And I hope that in sharing these stories with you, you find a motivation to keep going. And if I'm being honest, I still need the stories for myself today too. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Gary Vaynerchuk, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, reframe success.
I think it's really disingenuous to not talk about the fact that a lot of people are selling things that they cannot believe. There was a human being on stage yesterday who said, we believe that people watch television so that they can watch our commercials.
Captured his face.
Remy, not 1992, not 1982, not 1972, not 1962, not 1952. There was never a time, ever, that people decided, I'm gonna watch Leave It to Beaver just so I can catch the Coca-Cola commercial. There was probably, and I've done a lot of homework on this, there was a time where the commercial was a slight enjoyment part. You were curious. It did have a different culture. The remote control had been invented. There was a lot more creative firepower in the ad world in the 50s and 60s. Not because of anything, but because people actually saw the commercials, thus inspired highly creative people to want to make them. And so, yes, I do think that, there's people selling media here that is not transparent media. For all the wonderfulness that is outside, one thing that is not outside in any shape or form ever at Cannes is common sense. There is no version of common sense, otherwise nothing that is being said would be said. And I think that the industry is within itself. I don't think we can go and interview the 8 billion people on earth and ask them to recall 4 commercials that they could today. There is no network television consumption going on. It's all gone to streaming. Yes, I really struggle with that. I think it's incredibly challenging for me to wrap my head around the concept of selling something that in my soul I don't believe in. And I think that happens a lot in our industry.
Rule number 3, be authentically you.
If you pull 1 million people that have ever heard of me and dug in a little bit, nobody's even gonna be, this is where I'm complicated. Mm-hmm. This is why I'm attracted to people that are able to decipher it. This is how Jim himself got his job here, trying to get a job separately in VaynerX, but I wanted him on my team. This is why I leaned into you. If one is emotionally intelligent enough with natural talent to have figured me out, I know they're an incredible partner because I'm extremely difficult. Because for all the people listening right now that kind of know me or have heard of me or actually genuinely don't even love me that much, laugh, love, like that is not what
Live, love, laugh.
that is not what happens with me when I go on stage or when I'm recorded.
Yeah.
What comes out is Macho Man Randy Savage promo videos. What comes out is Chris Rock and Eddie Murphy. What comes out is other things that influenced me in the way that I communicate when a camera is on me.
And you're still saying the same thing.
It's just the way it's being said.
Totally. And that's, yeah.
It's funny. I don't know if you guys saw it. I've seen this at all. Lately, out of nowhere, I've been, for the first time ever, thoughtfully trying to tone down my energy and my speed in communicating, not because of anything else, out of pure curiosity. Back to what we were talking about, testing stuff. It's been really fascinating. Just a 10% off the pedal is just such a different thing in watching the audience consume it. Now, I'm going to still go 150 because it's just where my natural thing is. And again, when I go 140, I'm missing that person who needs 147, who almost nobody else right now can get to.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the only people that can get to the person that's at 147 are the bad guys and gals.
Yeah.
Got it?
Absolutely.
Got it? I have come to realize my place in this Avengers role is I'm going to have to eat judgment from people I admire to get through to people that are only getting influenced by bad, because the other goods don't have that one gear that I have, that cadence, that style. And I'm willing to deal with the ramifications to achieve the actual good goal.
Rule number 4, find real happiness.
I've been thinking about something a lot lately, which is a lot of my friends and acquaintances always ask me why I go so hard, why I'm pushing so hard. You know, because I'm very fortunate at this point in my life that I've put some wins on the board. I've achieved a couple of things. It always reminds me how surprised I am when people ask me this question. It reminds me how many people genuinely believe that financial status is the North Star. Their question is almost always baked in the framework of how much money I've acquired or have. And I always ponder that. It's always so interesting to me how the data, the math, is black and white on this issue. There is absolutely no correlation to one's wealth that maps their happiness. This is black and white. We continue to have a world that is confused that money buys happiness. It continues to be what someone who's hurting thinks is the potion or the antidote to fix it. Yet, we have unlimited amounts of hundreds of millions of people who prove otherwise. We must start there. The concept that you're gonna buy your way to happiness is the biggest falsity in human society, and we must stop doing that.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, believe in your dreams.
At 22, the only thing I wanted to do was build my family's business for them. And I was kind of like, the talks I was having were weird, which is like, you're gonna give up the best years of your life for your parents because they did it for you. And like, I had like this altruistic, like noble, like family immigrant vision, and I was psychotic about it. Like literally did not, like actively tell people like everything is best in balance. Like it would have been okay if I went to the Jersey Shore once in my 20s. It would have been okay, but I didn't. That's how psychotic I was, I think. But the reason I'm so happy is because I'm gonna give you the answer of what ties that together, which is The only thing you should be thinking about is if everything was perfect. Like as if I was a genie from the future and can grant your actual wish, you have to try to make that actually happen. Meaning, even if you've never said to your dad, only to yourself, not even your best friend, like if you've said to your own self that I want to be an actress, or I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a Supreme Court justice, or an entrepreneur, whatever that is, whatever it actually is, that's what 22 to 30 is about. It's all high risk. It's the biggest falsity that has been sold to kids. Now you've got to actually know what the you're doing. As if you're actually in the best position ever to execute something that's not practical. You don't need a lot of money to live. You can live with 40 of your friends, let alone 3. You could. You can eat like in your 20s, so you can buy dollar food, and like you can just, you don't have kids, you don't have, like, you don't, oops, sorry. You know, you are in the most practical place from 22 to 30 to do crazy ass shit. But the world has taught kids that that's the time you're supposed to have it figured out. It's insane. So my advice to you is, whatever your biggest single dreams are that you've kept to yourself, have been scared to even think you could, you've got to challenge yourself to try. And that looks like this. Whatever I just said, if it is Supreme Court justice, it's interning, it's paying a law firm, even though you didn't go to law school, to like be an assistant. Like, people don't understand how life actually works. Like, if you could just get into the game, weird things happen, right? If it is Hollywood life, like you need to move to LA and like work for, like it's working for free, which comes in all shapes and sizes. Your dad is a successful business person. You might be able to afford to work free, and that's okay. That's like family dynamics. Work for free is also working at Ryan Reynolds worked at Safeway. That's working for free. That's $9 an hour. Like, you know, that's the theory, right? Like, it's zero if you're miraculously in that situation. Most people aren't, some are, it's okay. My kids will be, for example, it's okay. Or minimum wage, but in the thing. Or a job that gives you plenty of hours to be in the thing. I tell a lot of people who want to be influencers to get like a job at 7-Eleven and just make content all day while they're standing behind the register. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, get a job that's not actually making you do anything so that you have time to do the thing.
It's true.
I mean, I don't even want to think what people are doing right now that I'm paying them. You know, like, so you have to go for your actual dream, the one that scares you the most, because it's the one you want the most, but you haven't even thought you had a chance to do it.
That makes sense.
It actually makes sense. This is why I'm so passionate about it. If not now, when?
It's true.
But the world really everybody up. Like this concept that you have to, now you went to college and you thus now know what the you want to do. Who? Show. Of course, ironically, orthodontist, doctor, lawyer. Yes, of course there are a small group of professions that the passion and the school, and you know, for everybody else, nobody's doing the thing. What?
Exactly.
And that's where everybody is. And you guys know your options. You have so many options because of technology. But the real answer to your question is the dream that you haven't even felt comfortable believing in.
Rule number 6, focus on the positives.
To your point, I genuinely believe the reason I can take the feedback is because when I go into my Instagram post that I just posted, literally in back-to-back comments, one will say that I'm walking on water and the next will say that I'm a snake oil salesman charlatan. The fact that neither penetrate my psyche is absolutely where I'm at.
Absolutely. And that's equanimity, right? Like that is that, whatever you want to call it.
It's the game, because people want the positive reinforcement that, you know, there's so many models on Instagram, right? Men and women. You're so beautiful. You look so great. You're so beautiful. You look so great. You're full of shit. You look fake. They're crushed because they take too much in that you look so great.
Yes, and I think that's the point that we're hitting on here, which I love, is that overemphasis on positive, it's what makes the negative so hard to take.
It's also an incredible place for me to add some clarity that I haven't done a good job on historically, which is something I'm thinking a lot more about. Raghav, it's fun to see you here because we had this call yesterday. I'm like, look, I'm at my worst when I'm excited in an interview and I'm drilling a headline because I love doing it. It's fun. It's showmanship. It's wrestling, promo videos. It's my natural state. You know, I talk a lot about not giving a fuck about other people's opinions. It's also because I take the complete opposite approach, which is every negative piece of feedback that I get, I genuinely go into two places. A, I deploy sympathy and empathy for the person leaving the comment, because inevitably, immediately on that action, I know that they're not in a good place. If you go to somebody else's social, consume it, and then spew hate, you're not in a good place.
No, absolutely.
You're unhappy.
Yeah.
Next, I start trying to see the insight to any truth in it. You know, the second that you're high on your own supply, you're vulnerable.
Yes.
And so
100%.
I don't give a fuck about anybody's opinion. Ironically, I value everybody's opinion. I just synthesize it and then decide to take the good from it.
Yes.
By deploying empathy and sympathy to the deliverer of the, I'm stunned by our lack of conversation in society right now on this part. There's a lot of judgment and hot takes and comments. We need to judge the person delivering the message.
Absolutely.
Like how is your mother's opinion of you have the same weight as Anonymous 54's comment on Instagram?
Yeah.
That is ludicrous.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the same way of how does a coworker's opinion, you have to factor that in different than your mother, because your mother blindly thinks you're the best if you're lucky enough to have that mother, you know? And so it's super fast. It's just pulling from opposite directions. And I think, you know, I'm pulling so hard from opposite directions that my balance is coming in that.
Rule number 7, practice gratitude.
The number one thing that I'm completely convinced would work for everyone, the only thing that I'm convinced would work for everyone, it's hard, back to everything we've been talking about, because it doesn't come natural to most people, but it is the ritual is practicing gratitude every morning. So I don't meditate or pray per se, but there's not a morning that I wake up in the world where when I wake up, including the overnight flight, where I don't look at my phone immediately. You know, a lot of people like to wait to look at their phone, which I love. You know, remember when I said and, not or? One of the biggest reasons the world has conflict is people keep telling people what they should do, right? Like, I'm very happy that meditation works for you. It may not work for someone else. You can recommend, all I'm doing up here and saying, hey, think about this. But I don't judge anybody when they don't do what I do or what I hope they do. I want it for them. But for me, every morning I grab my phone right away, and if nothing horrible happened, and let this be very clear, nobody died of the 10 people I love the most. If nothing horrible happened, I am actually incapable of being upset during the day. I could be frustrated, I could be perplexed, I could be for a second upset, but I just don't know how to be upset about anything other than someone you love dying. I just don't think you should.
Rule number 8, ignore the opinions of others.
Let's talk about why you actually listen to somebody else's point of view on your life. Let's talk about why somebody else's point of view on your life is something you're willing to accept. I am fascinated by people's ability to take strangers' comments on a social media post and allow it to make them upset. You post something and you're happy to post it, and then somebody literally leaves a comment that you're unattractive, you're stupid, like literally high school and junior high teasing, and your entire day, sometimes week, sometimes month, is completely ruined by a human being who is on the other side on their phone, who is hurting so much with their own life that the need for them to make it palpable is for them to take time to go to other people's lives and try to tear them down to make themselves feel better. This is what I call let's stop clapping so I can finish this one. This is what I call a circle of insecurity. a circle of insecurity. The concept that that is happening is not Facebook's fault, is not Instagram's fault, is not TikTok's fault. It's not. We have become infatuated with blaming the platforms for our own shortcomings until humans decide to lean into accountability and stop blaming platforms and politicians. People will continue to be unhappy.
Rule number 9, take accountability.
I want to remind people, you're in control.
Yeah.
It's incredibly important and appropriate, and I appreciate, especially being very cordial for people to ask and things of that nature, but I want to remind people they're in control.
Yeah.
I want to provide value and put out things in my professional career. I'm incredibly private and feel that the world is entitled to what you give it. So when I watch people get upset when people get into their business, I'm like, you're giving them your business. By the way, you're leveraging your business. I don't want to leverage nor give my personal life to the world. I don't think that's the right way, by the way. I just think it's my way. So the reason I have a little bit to what you're referring to is it became not sustainable because it's been a long time. And like, I was in a transit, like it was the appropriate time. And I needed to just get some context out there, but it's not where I'm going to go.
And that's what I was more interested by. To me, it's not.
Listen, us being together, my brain goes into maximize the value at the highest levels because we have the opportunity to for as many people are listening. The takeaway there from my perspective is you're in control. You have a learning disability and you want to share it, mazel tov. You don't, great. It took me back to something less serious. It took me 15 years of public life to say I'm not candorous. And it's hurt me in my personal life and it's hurt me in my business life. You get to share what you want to share. And I think people should be careful of what they share. You share your abs like you're a good shaped dude. People are going to talk about your body for the rest of your life. Like you did that. You're going to show your kid all the time. They're going to talk about that relationship. They're going to talk. You're giving the world permission. I prefer not to give the world permission because that's a sacred place for me. You know, even look at my mom. She like the greatest gift I could give to the world is my mom to the world. The greatest. She's alpha me. She's more experienced. She's a different perspective as a mom. She doesn't want it. The end, right? I thought my dad and mom would be reverse. My dad, I never thought would love the limelight so much. But you know, so I think if you're listening right now, please, if you're not going on social media because you have a skeleton in your closet, you have a disease, you have a bad, situation, you're like me. And like grew up in a family where like personal life is private. That's, I think, in Russia, that was like, people would go to jail if anybody knew anything about you. So I think it ingrained in my parents, which then ingrained in me and my sister and brother. Like we're private that way. I think you have to understand you're in control. Facebook and TikTok and podcasts and YouTube don't make you do anything. They don't make you do anything.
I'm so glad you addressed that because I think and this is why I brought it up. I think there's been a mask of false vulnerability that's been encouraged because of social media. So people think that the more vulnerable or more open you are, that shows authenticity.
I totally disagree. I love you for that. Right? You're going to a very smart place. I would argue I see more lack of authenticity in the way that people are leveraging their family and personal life because they know it does well. I think the lack of accountability is leading to so much unhappiness. Like life is so much better when you're like, this was my fault.
Absolutely.
You're in control. And so like, this was like a wrap up to control. You're in control. You decide what you consume. You decide what you believe. You decide who you surround yourself with. You decide what you put out. Take on accountability. Everybody wants to blame right now. The algorithm, they're acting as the algorithms are like hypnosis. And I understand endorphin hits and all that, but like you can delete the app. You can. Like, where's accountability in this? Right?
Absolutely.
Like, we have alcohol, we have tobacco, we have drugs, we have weapons, and we have all sorts of issues. But most people play within moderation. That's on you.
And it's a tough truth, right? It's a tough truth.
It's a tough truth. Especially when you're unhappy. that goes back to why it's important. It's like the chicken and egg. It's like working out. Like, I got into better shape the last 8 years. Nothing comes less natural to me.
Yeah, tell me.
Nothing comes less natural to me.
I can relate to you.
Right?
Man.
Like, but like, I was like, I just would like to live longer.
Yes.
I would just like to live longer.
Yeah.
And go figure. It's not apple cider gummies. It's not steroids. It's not implants. I've thought about it. I'm like, can I get chest implants? I put in a lot of work. I feel like I've like, Seth's good. Like, I feel like I've done more than Seth, but like my body type, like, you know, and I'm like, I probably haven't, but no, it's like eat well, go in the gym, do the right things. And so same for life. You know, whether it's meditation, whether it's exercise, whether it's therapy, whether it's good conversations, whether it's surrounding, you know, back to us not having the serendipity, you know, we've had some meals, we've had some interactions. They're always like, they're nice.
We need more.
I would like that.
Yeah,
and
like
we'll
that
build
too.
on that. I think, you know, I'm spending more time thinking about spending more time with more while doubling down on core. You know, you know, because I did a really good job in the last 10 years of doubling down on core, but I think being as busy and I love what I do, you know, I really do want to build out more of a friend network. I want to take more people from lightweight acquaintance to solid acquaintance. I want to take people from acquaintance to friend, from friend to best friend. And so I'm on a journey like everybody else, but I think that, I think, believe it or not, and this is going to sound so crazy for so many, the world actually has so much potential for everybody listening to be the best time to be alive. Medicine and technology, and there's so much, but we're caught right now. It's like a hamster wheel. We're in the momentum of focusing on, you know, the bad.
Yeah.
And there's always bad.
Yeah.
The Holocaust was bad. Genocide is always going on. Genghis Khan was not a fun time to be a human.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like we are very bad at history. I was a really bad student, but I did well in history. Like, but that starts with you. What are you going to do about it? Because right now everyone's like pointing and feels like it's on someone else.
Yeah.
It starts with ourselves.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is be optimistic.
I hope everything is good. One random thing, like it's been really working in my community. Just call somebody you haven't talked to in 2 years. Just literally go to your phone right now, contacts, hit the letter C, the letter F. You're going to see somebody from high school, somebody that you used to date and you're over it now. Like just literally call somebody, call, not text, call somebody and just say, what's up? I hope everything's good. And like, that's it. Like, even if you hang up after that, like, get, you know, like exercise, like eating, getting into practice of optimism and positivity and good matters. So randomly just call somebody and hit me up on social and let me know how it went. Like, but this is crazy. I do this once in a while in my world. Like people have called their father, estranged father for 15 years, their best friend that they just both got busy and now they're like back and their families are friends. Like this, it's crazy. I think one of the most important words for me to communicate in this talk today by far is patience. I promise you, no matter what you're doing in this room, and especially as I look around this room, first of all, everyone's uncomfortably attractive, and number two, but more importantly, this is quite a young audience, and I think the reality is the thing that I spend most of my time on is trying to get people to understand that patience is a very important variable of success, and more importantly, that I believe the far majority of people in this room do not have a great relationship with time. I am fascinated by people in this room who are stressed at the ages of 18 and 22 and 25 and 29, like they're running out of time. How many people, by show of hands, are under 30 years old? So for me, as you can imagine, when I see all those hands go up, you can put your hand down. Yeah, you're good. Okay, good. When I see all those hands go up, and I know in my mind, with the way that modern medicine and technology is going, that the far majority of this room is gonna live for another 80 years, it really gets me excited / concerned when people want their business to be huge next year. The quicker you want it, the more vulnerable you are. The quicker you want it, the more vulnerable you are. And what has been very fascinating for me is even though on YouTube and Instagram and maybe some of the places you guys see me, maybe my energy is high, maybe my style of communication is fast, but my business actions are extremely slow. I was a DNF student. I sucked at school. I actually was so bad at school that I had my admin, my assistant reach out to my high school and get a copy of my report card so I could put it on Instagram the other day, because people are confused what success looks like or how you get there. Doesn't mean that you should look at me and not do school. It means that you need to look at yourself and figure out who you are. What are you good at? What do you like? How are you gonna get to the place that you wanna get to? And so for me, I got 4 A's in high school my entire career, all in gym, right? Like I got a D in yearbook, and so to me, there's just 1,000 paths out there. And so for me, I'm curious about one by one, for the 30 people in this room, where's their mindset? Where are they at? Who are they listening to? What are they judging their self-worth and their ambition based on? How are they counting the points? Because when you're a youngster, you're looking at all sorts of different things. You're being affected by all sorts of different voices. And for me, the only thing that worked, even though I was getting D's and F's and all my friends' parents told me I was a loser, even though all my teachers told me I wasn't gonna be anything, even though I didn't have stuff, even though I just was in my own head. I knew exactly who I was. But the thing that I was willing to do was I was willing to work. And the thing that my parents taught me was not to dwell, not to cry about it. I didn't have shit. When I rolled up on my mom when I was 9, when Nintendo was popping, because when it first broke, I was like, Mom, I need Nintendo. She's like, good, go get it. And so I shoveled snow and I ripped people's flowers out of their yard and sold it back to them, which is my favorite one. I think, again, what I'm really trying to establish in this talk this morning is I don't think people have quantified the opportunity. I struggle, regardless of circumstance, with people dwelling or complaining in a world where the internet is free, has no idea who you are, could care less, it's right there, and it becomes a game of skill, not necessarily finances, to actually win. It's interesting to me. It's interesting to me that you can be in the retail business overnight by setting up a Shopify account, which costs nothing, when that same action to sell something 30 years ago meant that you had to sign a lease and build out a store and rely on the local traffic that walked by. It scares me and excites me that the biggest music company in the world, Spotify, was built in Sweden by a kid. And on and on and on, and you've heard every story. But more importantly, for every ridiculous story we've seen of Instagram or Facebook or Uber or Spotify, there are hundreds of thousands of stories of people with wins that are micro versions. I actually think the most unhealthy thing in entrepreneurship and opportunity is the big stories and everybody thinks they have to build $1 billion company. I think we do not talk enough about the practical $150,000 a year, $300,000 a year, $700,000 a year business that you genuinely love what you do and you can live your life being happy and financially sound, and what the cost of entry to be able to do that is in today's environment, which once again, let me say very slow, between putting out a media company, if you decide to put that on a WordPress or a Squarespace, a retail company, on the back of a Shopify, you could start a radio show that is global on the back of just uploading something you record on your memos on your phone and upload onto Spotify and Apple and SoundCloud. My friends, distribution is free. I know it's a nerdy thing. Like it's not like some big profound statement, but let me say it nice and slow. Distribution is free. It used to cost a fortune. Now what you put inside of it is the variable of your success, not your financial capabilities to create the distribution. You have to, like, I wish we could zoom in. I literally have goosebumps on my neck right now. No, but really, I really do. It's like a very, I will live my last breath trying to get people to understand this is remarkable. This is a game of perspective. Are you educated or capable of seeing it from the lens that I'm speaking about today, which is the barrier to reach the end person, whether you're a financial advisor and trying to get to a client, whether you sell bow ties, whether you want to be, how about the fact if you want to be a professional football player and now there's all these websites where you can upload your film because the scout didn't come to your tiny, tiny town and now you actually can be discovered. Like, everything has changed. My question and my dream every time I speak is, can I get one person in this room to get their piece? I think you should invest, whether it's you or the person below you, but no further than that, over 100 hours of qualitative consumption of every personal brand trying to convert on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, to just see if there's anything you see. One of the biggest mistakes, one of the things I've never talked about that I'm starting, that literally this might be the first time I'm talking about, this is what's good about 2 weeks vacation. You get to think like, I don't know if I'm articulating enough to people how much research I'm doing. Now I'm doing it with audience. I'm not seeing what, Richard Branson's doing or I don't do that. I just consume everything my audience is doing with me. Everything. All of it. I'm just reading all the comments. I actually like losing more than winning, I've come to learn. This is something I'm really trying to reconcile. I actually like losing more than winning. It speaks volumes to why I'm obsessed with the Jets and Knicks and completely have abandoned the Yankees and the Rangers after they won a championship. I like losing more.
Micro losing or macro losing?
Micro losing, right. But everything is micro losing besides death or bankruptcy.
Like being the underdog?
Yep. Like, I just don't give a f what you guys think. And that goes from you all the way up to my parents. How? That, by recognizing that you guys don't have nor my parents has all the context. Nobody fully knows you. It's actually through empathy.
At what age was that like?
Early. Like, I can't believe how now, understanding a little bit more, back to like being in your own cocoon, I can't believe the mentality I brought into high school. Mm-hmm. Like, to navigate high school the way I did, which is like completely and utterly not affected by peer pressure in hindsight, is wild to me. That takes a level of like self-confidence at such an early age that I think, I just understand so much more of what I am now, really on that window, because that is such a tough spot. And that.
Do you attribute that to your parents and the work from a young age, or
yes.
Just your parents?
The DNA my parents gave me, clearly the way that my mother raised me, having to earn my keep, and then just like DNA, man, just like that voice that we all have. Like, I just always felt that I was better. And here's where it gets really good. But if the world showed me I wasn't, like, I remember going through, this is actually interesting, I don't know if I've ever shared this. I remember vividly going through the ages of like 7 to like 16, being stunned anytime I didn't win in something. Like, shocked. Like, just could not believe that Rick was better at tennis, or John just beat me in one-on-one, or I wasn't the fastest in my class, or like, just shocked. And and I've been thinking about that lately because it sparked in me a few months ago. I'm like, wait a minute, that was weird. What was that? Because I just kind of remembered it. Like, shock. I remember actually what seemed in my mind as a disappointing thing at the time, and now I look as a great thing. I remember thinking somewhere around 13, 14, 15, that I lost my expectation of always winning in everything every time. And I remember thinking like that wasn't good, but in hindsight, I think it was great, because the reality is I got into this place of complete and utter confidence, but being able to not come up with excuses if it didn't work out. Like, watching people like lose and then blame the sun. Like, literally, like I overheard it a couple of weeks ago somewhere. I was walking I'm on vacation, I overheard it. Like, this kid lost to his cousin, it seemed to me they didn't look like brothers, and he was blaming the sun. And it took everything I had to not like roll in and be like, bro, I love you, but like, you need to realize like the sun was there for him too. And I think a lot about that, accountability. Like, if you're coming up with excuses, like being super confident, filled with excuses when it doesn't work out is called delusion. So, I feel great because I love process. How do you speed up things? Less rules. How do you speed up things? Less process. How do you speed up things? Less fear. This is something that has been my calling card for 20 years, and it is out of complete and utter lack of fear, complete and utter disdain for process that is in the mix for the sake of process. Obviously, some process is needed. And this is ultimately was the first reason I got into culture, besides having good DNA about liking people. It was that I understood that if people were motivated and excited, that great things would happen versus fearful and political. The type of leader that will create this is one that really focuses on those three things that I just mentioned. I think people have now aspired to be an entrepreneur when they're not, and those are the people that are going through depression, are suicidal, are unhappy because they're in a game that doesn't match them. So when I say that, it leads, I'm playing chess. It's never a one size fits all. I want to see what the person says next. I'm looking for the tell. Got it, brother?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, listen, don't overstress. You got patience. Your 20s is a good high risk, high reward time. If it's in you, like if you said that to me, if Gary said to Gary, yo, go to Europe, go this, I'd be like, F you.
Right, me too.
Well, that's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
Because when the kid says, yeah, you're right, I'm like, I couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
And I couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
I had to do it every second. I couldn't breathe. This is when you're a natural purebred, you're in Beyonce, LeBron, Pablo Picasso category. You're an artist.
Yeah.
You're an artist. There was no choice. I'm not doing this for the flex or the gram or the money or the house or the jet or I don't want a single thing. I don't want to be part of any exclusive club. I don't need an island. I don't need a house. I need the game.
Yeah.
I need the game. Sales and marketing is mixed, and that means you're actually doing sales. And if marketing is put into a place where it's all upside, because marketing is gray. It is intuitive, right? Yeah. So if the rule is 500,000, I'm making shit up. And like, there's no, like at the end of the day, it's like, if you were the head of it for me, I'd be like, it's 500,000 and my team will tell you this. James will definitely tell you this. It's like, I don't give a f. We'll talk at the end of the year. Explain yourself. But I have no judgment. I'm not booing or cheering along the game. Just tell me when it's 000 and explain to me why we lost 112 to 88 or why we won 112 to 88, and you just hold that person accountable. That's how marketing needs to work. Because that's marketing. You have to be able to do something ridiculous like buy $50,000 worth of bananas and send them to dentists just because it's so ludicrous that they're like, what the f? You see where I'm going now? Like as silly as what I just said to you, you would be shocked how smart what I just said actually is based on how silly it sounds. The world is busy. Yeah. The way you break through is by breaking patterns. If you're a dentist and you get a banana sent to you in the mail and you wrote a note on it in pen, that's just weird. Weird enough to give you awareness. Other people I'm watching here are 24 and are regretting shit already. I'm like, okay, I need to help them think about this because that's a bad framework. Because if you regret, if you're that insecure, if that's your perspective, then you have no right answer. Because if you go and travel and you're 34, whatever you are financially or professionally at 34, you're like, I should have worked more, Argentina. If or if you do the other thing and you work your face off, you'll be like, I ended up just like Gary. All my friends had fun, and yeah, I got $1 million in the bank, but I'm sad because I wish I went to the beach more often. So either you're in that framework or you're not, which is a great way to put a bow on everything I've been telling you. You want to blame other people, the government, Google, knock yourself out. You will go to the grave blaming somebody for something. Let's come out of this leaning into humility and gratitude, and that will be the springboard to everything you want. If you can, just be grateful. Yes, you lost your job or your business is not as good, but your grandfather didn't die from corona. just be grateful. Like grateful for the time you're spending with family now, grateful for the innovation time, the thinking time. I'm sleeping more than ever. I put on a couple pounds, so I got to be a little bit more careful, but I'm gaining real muscle. I'm starting to really do it out
Strong,
here.
man. Let's play some ball soon.
I'm going to dodge you on that. You're too good. But gratitude and humility. This is hard. The concept of teaching someone to be more self-aware is something I've been thinking about for a long time. I think the thing that drives so many of us crazy in the world is interacting with those that struggle with self-awareness. I think one of the hardest things for people to deal with is hypocrisy. We struggle with it, and I struggle with it. The exercise in the book that I decided to do was creating frameworks for the people that know you the best to create a safe space for them to be able to tell you the truth. I think one of the reasons people struggle with self-awareness is because they have enablers around them that are allowing them to get away with bad behavior. And so I'm spending a lot of time trying to think about how one puts the people that knows them the best in a safe place to actually give them the critical feedback that could be the jarrer of a journey towards self-awareness. It's a very tough challenge. I don't know if I have the answer. What I can tell you is, no question, the business leaders that I admire, the human beings that I admire, are the ones who are off the charts in self-awareness. I'm incredibly grateful for the luck of the DNA game that I think gave me a lot of it. I would argue that the only reason I have any level of popularity is because of self-awareness, because of the kind of communicator I am and my personality. I would be completely not palpable if I didn't have high levels of self-awareness, because I have some really funny attributes as a communicator. And so it's a conversation we need more of. I do think that self-awareness has a very interesting relationship with accountability. I think that a lot of people actually know what their shortcomings are, but they try to navigate the world in a way where they are hoping that people don't notice. And it's something I'm thinking a lot about. My belief is that fear is powerful, and however you were brought up or what your ideology is on safety, you put having a job on a pedestal as something that's secure. The logic for all of us listening to you right now is if you're making double what you make in there, it seems like a very obvious step, but I'm empathetic that you're scared to make that jump. My thing to remind you and people out there in a similar situation is it's not very hard to get another job if you fail, if you leave this job. And so for me, if we were friends and we talked all the time, the thing I would always remind you every day is if you take the leap of faith and some reason it doesn't work, which by the way, if you're making double your salary as a side hustle, if you give 100% of your time to that, I have a funny feeling it's going to work out. But I would remind you that you could always go and get a job again in the same industry, maybe for a different company. Believe it or not, and I've seen this sometimes for the same company because they missed you. That's what I would pound into your head, because whatever you grew up with, it created an ideology that a job was safe. Does that make sense to you, Mo?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Thank you very much.
Listen, before you leave, you need to re-listen to that over and over and over. Every human being is the byproduct of what they listen to. So if you're listening to your parents or a +1 or somebody else that's saying, no, don't make the jump, you're not gonna make the jump. If you listen to somebody who's saying something practical like take the jump, and oh, by the way, if it doesn't work, you can always go back, and if it fails, who cares about other people's judgment? Then you'll jump. This is a very simple business conversation. If you want to sell things, it's a good idea to make it easier for people to buy from you. And so the innovation is the mindset. The innovation is going home now and deciding what you just saw in this talk and saying, is he right or is he wrong? Mm-hmm. And if you find yourself saying, he's right, but I don't want to, I really mean this, that's okay. But then you have to be honest with yourself of where you are in your career, whether that means maybe doing something else because you don't have fire for it, or being content, which is fine, a beautiful thing if you're content, but you have to be aware that this is all happening around you. I don't have to tell this room how much innovation is going on in this space. You've got the biggest technology companies in the world interested in your money. I know what the big tech companies are doing. I know what's happening with blockchain. I know what's happening with the 20-year-olds that everybody makes fun of who are picking up incredible market share from a lot of you because they're actually being seen on social. They may not know the business yet. And you love making fun of them for that. I got bad news for you. That they'll figure out.
Yeah, no, that's may need to take a pause on that one.
People make fun of things until they don't. Everybody made fun of the Kardashians until they didn't. Everybody made fun of Tesla till they didn't. Everybody made fun of my pictures until they sold for $1 million today on Christie's.
Congratulations.
People love to make fun of things. And what I'm worried about is this room's too successful.
That's a great
Success is the beginning of the end.
What are some of those, you've spoken candidly about your parents and the meticulous upbringing. What are some of the things they taught you that now even get you to sit here and give back in such a fashion?
I think gratitude is the reason I give back. I think the single reason I want to put out all the content and do things like, I'm very compensated for a speech like this, but no longer does that make financial sense to me in my business world. It's just amazing to be here with all of you. I love it. Why? Because I know how I communicate. I know that I come here with an agenda, and that agenda is to suffocate one person in this room's bullshit with the hope that it's exactly what they needed to go do something so that in 4 years they could send me an email and say, I was in San Diego in 2021 and I thought I was hot shit, but then you got me and then I got my shit together. And now my family's so much better. And that feeling for me is better than even when I'm winning. So my selfishness is my selflessness. It's fun for me. I'm already good. It's very easy to give when you're fulfilled.
Sure. Right?
And so for me, what happened? My family heritage was crazy up. My mom lost her mom at 5. My dad lost his dad at 16. We lived in the Soviet Union. A lot of people don't know this. I didn't realize how many people don't know this. You weren't allowed to leave the country. The country was a prison from 1918 to 1990. A prison. You weren't allowed to leave. Leave. Everybody spent time in jail because the government owned everything. Cuba and Venezuela are a vacation compared to the Soviet Union in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. So, here I am. We left in 78. I'm growing up in America, and this is gonna really hit for this room. I'm growing up in America, but am I really? Because in my 4 walls, it's Russia. Right? But I have both, right? So in the house, all I'm hearing every Friday night and on the weekends is the stories of the old country, and it's a disaster. And I'm out here drinking Coca-Cola and watching Mickey Mouse. And so very quickly, I'm just thankful. I'm just grateful. And so gratitude was big. The other thing they taught me was the story looked like this. 6th grade, Nintendo explodes, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, Mom, Nintendo. And she's like, good, go get it. And so, that framework gets you serious about lemonade and washing cars and shoveling snow. And so my parents taught me a level of work ethic that I would, in hindsight at 45, say was probably too extreme. The 3 of us talk about it a lot. I think all of us collectively look at each other and say, maybe we took it to 130. 100 would have been fine. 80 would have been fine. We lived in 130. I worked, from the time I was 14, I worked every weekend and every summer vacation day of my life. All of them. Like when people hear it, I don't think they understand. all of them. Not like kind of, like you meet people, they're like, they helped out in their family business every day. I was a terrible student. My parents sat me down at 14 and they're like, you're not going to Harvard, so you're gonna work every day. And so work ethic was taught. And then I had such a gift of communicating that my father really, really impacted my life because he has no tolerance for lying. And I had an incredible ability to manipulate everyone on earth. And when you're young and you realize you have gift of gab, you have no idea how to fully function with it, right? And so my dad really helped me because I was so scared of him. And for my father, embellishing or a slight exaggeration was like a death blow. He keeps it so straight, and that really helped me a lot. I think about that a lot. I was gifted with so many things, but it really worked out for me on how they parented me. But it all comes down to gratitude. When I tell you the only thing on earth I care about is the health of my family, it is the only thing I care about. Everything I do in business is a game. I don't give a shit. Money, all of it, health.
For someone like myself who wants to go into entrepreneurship ultimately and start a business, I'm interested in several areas like media, emerging tech, all that, but I don't really know which specific thing I want to do. Would you say to start at some company first and then kind of figure it out from there, or just kind of go?
How do you learn?
I think mostly by doing.
So then don't go to a company.
But I feel like there's a lot of I guess pressure in a sense to go.
You can stop this sentence right there. You know that you learned that way, but you're gonna do something else based on somebody else.
Yeah, no, makes sense.
That's what everyone's doing, bro. And so everyone's sitting around and trying to figure out why all these young people are so upset. It's because of all this. Because they were over-coddled by a generation of over-coddling parents, and they don't know how to do their own shit. And I think they can do tons of shit and believe you can do so much as long as you tune out. Are you in a place where you're comfortable to do what I lived through? I lived it. I lived the world where, now I'm me, but 26-year-old me was ringing up my friends from high school at my dad's liquor store when they rolled in with their BMW because they went to a good school and started working at Goldman Sachs and could afford one, or not really, but they wanted to look like they could. And they were buying a case of Moet Chandon, and I was ringing it up for them. And this is real stories now, and carrying the case to their car and putting it in their trunk. I walked in feeling fulfilled because I was happy I made a sale. They were leaving there feeling unbelievable because Gary's bringing out my case. The problem was that was just when we were 26. Now that we're 43, it's real different. I just had the internal strength to deal with that scenario. 99% of you aren't. Evan, thank you so much for having a couple seconds and being able to tell the Believe Nation a little bit about Empathy Wines. It means a lot to me that you would take this valuable real estate and time on your channel to give me some love. It means a lot. It's just good karma points, and so you're awesome. Thank you. Believe Nation, if you're into wine at all, go to empathywines.com. My whole career's work was poured into producing a wine that rivaled $40 to $60 wine for 20 bucks a bottle. I'm just super excited about this subscription-based wine business. You can order 3, 6, or 12 bottles in subscription form, rosé, white, red. If you search on Instagram or Twitter, you will be blown away. People are literally like, I don't even like GaryVee, but the wine's good. Super proud of the effort. Thanks, Evan, for the time. Wishing you guys all happy and healthy.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag Believe down in the comments below, on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome. For 10 more amazing rules from Tom Bilyeu, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
Morning routines are one of the most important things that you can create in your life. And the reason is when you start the day, if you get early momentum going, the rest of the day is often going to follow in that. It's an idea called entropy.